Hey, I've had an extremely stressful day. I'm not going to go into it, but the cliff notes is that I'm fine. Just had some hand pain that my anxiety was just freaking out about. But I got an x-ray done today, and they said that I'm fine. So it's likely that the pain is just from being an old man. Maybe the posture I use or something. But I'm probably going to be taking it easy for a while. So today, instead of doing something more intense, I'm just going to do some DFO gameplay. Now, what I wanted to talk about today was, it's been a pretty hot topic. I don't know if it's been a hot topic, but it's something that it's been on my mind for a while. Like, the dark side of MMOs. People, think about them being fun. People get married on them in real life and stuff like that. They meet like lifelong friends, but there's such a dark side to them, and I see it a lot, especially on this game. I see it more on this game than any other one, because the RNG in this game is like the worst I've seen in anything. But I think the problem is people just have this misconception that you have to be a hardcore player in every MMO, and that definitely isn't the case. I've been playing this game on and off for years, and I've never really had anything resembling a optimized character. I'll go ahead and show them again before I get started. Like, this is my best character here, and the stuff that he's packing is like, it's a pittance compared to what the hardcore players are running with. He's got pretty much above average emblems. I have the petite lancer, and then my gear is 6-piece Gracia, bamboo lance, which I've talked about before, and then a couple just random assorted epics I got from Helmut. Now this guy, I could probably do raid on him if I actually cared about raid, but he would not really, probably wouldn't be a top pick. At the same time, I haven't really put too much work into this guy. The bamboo lance came from an event. They had that epic road event late last year, I think back in the summer or early fall, and they had a level 80 epic box, and I got that. I got it from that box because normally you can only get this weapon. I haven't explained this part before, at least, but normally you can only get this weapon from a certain APC in Hell mode. And the RNG in Hell mode is already really bad to begin with. The chance of getting anything you can even put on your body is pretty rare. They've kind of alleviated that with the mastery changes, so that you can use something outside of your mastery and not get such a huge deficit in your stats. But the chances of getting this are pretty slim, despite all the complaining the community does that Lancers dilute the drop pool and they're the only thing that drops. If that was the case, I'd have much better gear than what I have now. But this guy, he's not really a competitive character, and I don't really care that he isn't either. I just like him because of his moveset. The problem that a lot of people have had with this game is that they've made the leveling pretty brain dead. I'm about to do some brain dead leveling right now. I'm not going to subject you guys to too much of it, but I just wanted to put up something a little different today. I probably should rest my hands. The problem right now is that the leveling is brain dead, and then you get to the end game and it's mostly just grinding to for numbers. I don't really think that's it's not engaging to me. For some people it is. People play Disgaea to do like 500 billion damage, but in Disgaea, people complain about the grinds in those games, but the grind there is like it's nothing. It's child's play compared to what you have to do here. I read an article about the Korean players complaining about just all the problems, how your personal skill in this game does not really matter as much as just grinding out the RNG. It is basically just brute forcing. I could definitely see that being true. And I think people focus too much on just having this super competitive character when that's not really what you should aim for, at least in my opinion. You know, everybody plays games for different reasons, but I've always felt that, you know, if I get to the point where I can clear content, you know, fast and stylishly, then I'm pretty happy. You know, PSO2 is kind of the same way for me. I've fallen behind on that game just because I haven't been playing it. But, you know, I'm still relatively competitive on it at least. You know, that game has a dark side too, and that's PSO2 is one of the few games where I've like actually gotten close to that dark side. Like, I've told this story before, but about 2 years ago, they had a bus strike. The bus system was on strike for pretty much the entire summer. I think it wasn't until like early in the fall that they came off strike. So, you know, for me, being a person who can't drive, like I basically could not do anything. Like I could basically, you know, do the necessities to keep myself alive. I could like go to the grocery store. I could go to the park to exercise, and you know, there's a couple places to eat around here, but that was like basically all I could do unless I got a ride from someone else. So during that summer, pretty much all I did was play PSO2. I did basically nothing else. And that's kind of the problem that PSO2 has, is that the game is still heavily based around basically living your life around it. Like, you have to revolve your life around the game to really get anywhere. They've made efforts to fix that. I know that they have the emergency quest triggers, which are supposed to help with that, but I think that those cost the star gems, which you have to either pay for or grind for. I really don't know how much of a difference it makes, because I haven't really played in a long time. But that was definitely the dark side for me. Like, I would pretty much, I used to, that year, or that summer, where I was basically playing the game because the bus was on strike and I couldn't do anything else. Like, I was living my life around that game. Like, I would like plan my exercise trips and my grocery trips around the emergency quests. And that's definitely the dark side of that game, is when you just get to the point where you're so desperate for the end game gear that you're revolving your life around it. Like, you're waking up at 3 in the morning. Now, from what I hear, if you play the game in Europe, if you're like in the UK or Russia or pretty much anywhere in Europe, I think that the time difference is less of an issue. So I think like most of the quests would be spawning a little closer to prime time for that region. But here, a lot of that stuff is at like 4 in the morning, so I would wake up and do the quest and go back to bed. Wake up at 5 in the morning, do the quest, and go back to bed, like just ad nauseum. But at the same time, I was able to get out of that, and I still play the game sometimes. If I'm able to get some carrying from another streamer or something, I probably will play the hero class because that looks fun. But I'm just kind of at a point in my life where I don't really want to revolve my life around an MMO anymore. And I think that's part of the reason why they're on a decline. There's been so much, you know, just people, there's so many games out right now, people don't want to divert all their attention to a single one. You know, this is always the best part of any DFO update. Any character update is there's like thousands of clones everywhere. But the lesson I wanted to give, I'm going to go to level 15 by the way, is that you should just not be too scared to play an MMO, you know, unless you have like an addictive personality or something. There's plenty of fun to be had playing games like this, and you don't need to get to a super high, you know, optimization level. Well, you can see how brain dead this leveling is. I'm not even really paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm pretty much just mashing buttons. The problem with this game is that the old grind was just too tedious, especially for the Korean and Chinese servers where people are basically just in a rush to get to endgame. Because for a while, people were actually making like real-world currency doing the selling the raids. So you had all those people wanting to just get to the cap so that they could do that, and that's why they made this drastic change where the game is just piss easy. But my problem with it is it doesn't really feel like a beat 'em up anymore. It does in some isolated situations, like the you know, the ancient dungeons. You've seen me play those in the past couple videos. Like, those are fun because there actually is some kind of semblance of skill involved, even if gear is still a big part. But the whole leveling experience, basically at least until the 86 cap, is just pretty much just, you know, face rolling. I wish that they would find a better balance. I'd probably play this game more seriously if that was the case. I think MMOs just have a hard time balancing, you know, people who want to play casually and people who are hardcore. Obviously, there's such a huge emphasis on the hardcore players because they're the ones that are far more likely to spend money on the game. You know, like I tried Marvel Heroes. I tried that game just a couple of days ago because someone gave me a key for it, and I found out I could play as Iron Fist. I tried it. I thought the game was like average at best. It definitely was not engaging to me. So, for all intents and purposes, you know, on that game, I'm what you would call a mooch. You know, I'm a useless player. I don't really contribute anything to their game because it didn't engage me enough to continue. At the same time, I hear the endgame content in that is like really lacking. So you have people that probably would invest a lot of money into it, but because the content is not engaging to those people, they're not spending money and they're doing the opposite. They're quitting. I think finding a balance is so difficult. PSO2 went through that back when they added the ultimate quests. Like the drop rate on those was like pathetic, to put it nicely. And a lot of people, including myself, quit because they basically used that to kind of bide time until there was other content available. But it definitely backfired. A lot of people stopped playing, and you know, obviously I don't really have any inside information, so I don't know how many people actually came back. I ended up coming back months later when they improved episode 3 a little more. But that stuff's got to be a big deal too. You know, if you make a big mistake on a game, like, a lot of people may not ever come back. I think there's so many intricacies to these games, even though they have such a simple gameplay loop. You know, even the more advanced ones, you know, you're still pretty much just killing stuff to get stronger. But there's so many little small pieces of it that, you know, if they're not balanced delicately, can really cause a big issue. Like right now in this game, you know, you grind to the cap, you pretty much face roll. You don't really have to learn how to play your character at all. And then you get to the end game, and it's mostly just, you know, how much damage do you do? How much contribution can you make to a party? And in some cases, for some classes, that can be like a handful of moves. Or, you know, a certain isolated setup that works really well in that situation. I find that really boring. I like when you can just play as anybody, which is why I pretty much just stop at the, I stop caring once I get to the ancient dungeons. They are adding level 90 legendary dungeons, which are supposed to be more up my alley, so to speak. Like, they're basically just you know, beat 'em up dungeons. You just kill shit. There's no gimmicks or necessity to have any crazy gear. So I'll probably be checking that out later on, whenever that happens. I think it's already in our client. So I'm gonna job advance to a mistress and then probably just chill for today. I should probably rest my hands. And I think sometimes people see, maybe not necessarily the videos I make, because I've never really been a competitive MMO player in anything. But, you know, they see the speedrun videos and they think that it's, you know, the game's daunting to play. They worry that since they can't devote that much time and dedication into it, it's not worth playing. I think that's definitely not true. You can still have fun playing these games with your friends. I think now that the, you know, the leveling is so piss easy, it's probably easier to get people into, you know, playing stuff like this. Especially a game like this that doesn't have what you would call modern graphics. But on the flip side, I've heard people say that they're, they've tried to get new people into it and they get bored because everything dies in one hit. I hope that they will find a better balance, but I think it's just at this point it's mostly just geared towards the Korean and Chinese players just want to get to the end game. But in my opinion, the end game in this is the least interesting part. You know, you have the ancient dungeons, which are fun, especially since they've removed a lot of the gimmicks, and then you kind of just have this part where you just do this depressing, soul-crushing grind for the chance to get something that you can actually use that will actually benefit your build or whatever you're trying to do with the character. You know, it's the same with other games as well. If it takes a long time to get interesting, a lot of people are going to stop. That's why some people don't like Muso games. You know, it can take a pretty significant grind to do cool stuff in those games. You know, One Piece Pirate Warriors 3, I think, is one of the better Muso games they've released recently. But if you want your full moveset, you have to grind like crazy, and only the hardcore are going to do that. I felt that game was a little unbalanced in its progression, because they locked a pretty significant chunk of your moveset. In some cases, you know, that chunk that they locked behind the level breaking was like crucial to playing the character in the first place. I consider that to be you know, kind of a imbalanced, you know, progression loop. It's interesting just how much of this stuff you can pick up on just from playing them a lot. I've definitely noticed this. That's why I wanted to make a video about it. You know, just because you see some dude beating a raid on this, you know, just doing the damage cap every 2 seconds, like, it doesn't mean that you need to aspire for that. You can still just have fun doing other stuff. Especially once you realize how much grinding they do to get to that point.
Nice. Counter.
The main problem I have with the way that the leveling works in this now is if you're playing a technical class, it's a lot harder to learn how to play them because they die in one hit. The game has basically become like a fighting game. It's kind of like the Marvel Infinite demo right now. The people who are doing the crazy combo videos for that are basically kind of playing a lot like how this game is right now. You have to go into the training room in this to really learn how to play your character. If they're not, I know, they don't have a really simple playstyle. Because the enemies die too fast. It's the exact problem that a lot of people are having with the story mode demo for Marvel Infinite. Like, it's kind of difficult to learn the mechanics in a timely manner when the enemies that they give you die in like one combo. You know, when the fights are like 30 seconds long, you can't really get a good grasp of how to play. That's always been my biggest issue, the way that this game functions right now. Alright, so I've mentioned this before, but I'm pretty frustrated that they do not have a monk equivalent. We all watched that stream. It was about a year ago, actually, that they announced this class for the Korean version, and they kept announcing classes. I think they announced the Crusader first because that was kind of a pretty big request. I know people wanted more Crusaders in the raids, and they wanted less of a necessity to do the depressing, soul-crushing grind to get them raid ready. So they added that. Then they announced this one. I don't remember the order that they did, but they kept announcing classes, and we were watching the stream. We were like, "Where's the monk? Where's the monk?" And the monk didn't happen. But this is the closest you get, so go for this one. One of the reasons why I liked Tokiden, especially Tokiden 2. Like, the grind in that game was, I'd say it's pretty reduced compared to other hunting games. Obviously, I don't have a huge pedigree in the hunting genre. I've played Ragnarok Odyssey and all three Tokiden games, and I had a brief stint with God Eater, but that was it. But I liked how, you could actually do cool stuff in that game in a timely manner, and the RNG was not too bad. It wasn't great, but I'd say the extreme of RNG is probably this game if you're trying to get like a specific build. Like if you're just trying to get epic items at all that you can wear, it's not too bad, but if you're trying to get like a specific setup, for doing a raid, be it a support class or something, like that's when this game just gets super soul crushing. There's a DFO streamer, he was trying to get some sword, and he basically, he played the game every day. He went through his full fatigue bar every day for, I believe it was 8 or 9 months. I don't know exactly how long it was. But he played every day, and that item never dropped out of all that time. And he ended up having to craft it, which is basically the game's, the new brute force way they've added of making sure that you can get what you want. But the amount of money you have to put into that is like crazy. I don't know how people do it. I just play this to have fun, and I think the message I'm trying to give here is that you can have fun playing these games without getting to that point. And I think that people get a little scared away from all this stuff, and I think that's a shame. There is a lot of fun to be had with these. You can just play these with your friends. You can hop on Discord and just play this for an hour or two every couple weeks and have fun. You don't have to get to the point where you're, banging your head against the wall trying to brute force RNG. And I think people focus on that stuff too much. So with that said, I'm going to sign off. I should probably rest my hands. I don't think I'm going to be playing too hardcore. I'll try to throw up the stream later today if I'm up for it. But this event goes for a while. I'm probably going to get to like 80 or 85 or wherever the event stops, and I'm just going to wait for the Second Awakening, because playing through that last part of the leveling without your Second Awakening is pretty boring. I don't know how much the Second Awakening directly affects this class, but I just tend to wait anyway. So probably for the next couple days I'll be playing this, and then I should be getting the capture card by the time I get close to that point. So I'll be doing some tests with that, probably towards this weekend, if not early next week. It depends on my friend's availability. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my little public service announcement and boring. I'll catch you guys.